Well, we're going to continue here on the Jeremiah Show. It's so nice to meet you, Richard. Richard Gibbs.
Pleasure's mine.
With the Woodshed Studios, recording studios.
Woodshed Recording is the name of it.
Woodshed Recording, and you really have to see it to believe it, and we're going to get a tour finally, so
Sure.
We're ready.
Okay, well, this place is unique in the world of recording studios in that all of the interior walls move, and it's looking out over the ocean, which you'll see in a minute when we start swinging around that way.
I wanted to start with the piano because you had
That's
told me a little bit.
I usually end with that, but okay, we'll go right to that. We'll start with that. So everybody that works here signs the piano. I always invite them to sign the piano in any case. So if you look in here, maybe you've got footage of it already, but there's Kehlani, and right to the left of the hinge over there is Tom Petty. To the right of the hinge is Barbra Streisand. Down below the hinge on the wood is Chris Martin and all the guys in Coldplay. Bono's right here. All the U2 guys are in here. Pink, Lady Gaga, Cher, bam, bam, bam. On and on. Hundreds of signatures in there now.
It's truly amazing. And what about this right here? You were saying that you can actually bring in old recordings and play it with the piano?
Well, this is a type of piano it's a Yamaha piano. It's not an unusual piano, but it has a mechanism in it called a Disclavier Pro. And what that does is when I'm playing the piano, if I sit down and just noodle play on the piano, my engineer can record MIDI information, and what I just played would be in the computer as well as, ones and zeros basically, and then spit it back to the piano later. And if I made a mistake, he can fix it in the computer, but it's my piano. It's a real piano, it's not fake. So, and you can also use that technology to bring other music in from other sources. So I don't even know if I have anything. Yeah, my disc isn't working right now. I could play you stuff, but it'll play. I've got recordings that Chick Corea did on a similar piano, and other famous. There's even old piano roll music from George Gershwin. So it's actually George Gershwin's fingerings and dynamics that are into the piano.
Was that a big, goal of yours, kind of bringing the old with the new, or what were some of your inspirations when you're putting it all together?
No, I wouldn't say that. It's just I like the technology to be able to record something that's real, not use samples and what I consider cheating, but at the same time you can tweak it later if you want to. So.
And the acoustics in here, I mean, to have this much, what we were talking about, it's just so open, and having all the windows, and how did you do that? How did you come across doing that?
Well, most recording studios, if you've been in studios before, are very acoustically dead, dry, right? And that's by design. This place is very live, but it's very controlled in its own way, and there's a lot of little tricks that we did to make it sound good. Like, you can have a live room and it's kind of irritating to be in, where you get this ping pong effect, this chatter echo and stuff. There are a lot of little tricks that would be for a much more technical video I could show, but we did pay attention to that. But the biggest thing is, you can't have glass. You could swing around and show that way. You can't have glass in a recording studio because it's so highly reflective and it causes a problem. So, but I don't know if you can see if it's blowing out or whatever, but that's the ocean out there. And I'm not going to block that view. No. So we found other ways to compensate for that. But we can also completely deaden the room through bringing in different panels. But where it gets really trippy is in the wall system. So I'll get to that. I'll cut to the chase. So all this gear, everything you see here is kind of standard recording studio gear. But what makes it non-standard is that it's on wheels. Everything is on wheels. Everything can go anywhere in the room I want it to go, and all the cabling for it can be dropped down in the floor. It's all modular, and then I can wheel it over into that corner of the studio or that corner where the piano is now. It could go anywhere in the room, and the same cabling exists underneath the floor, and you just pop it up and plug it in. And you think, well, why do you care that you can move the gear to another part of the room? It's still the same room. You may ask that question.
Why would you care?
So here's, look out, gentlemen, coming through. So here's why. This is what really separates this, one of the many things that separates the studio is there's a wall system that comes out here.
Oh my gosh, and just moves.
So you can completely change the acoustics and the functionality of the room. Watch out behind you, Jeremiah. So this will, I'm just going to push it right against the wall. And there's a rubber bulb seal that seals against the wall right there, against the mahogany there. And there's another one right here that drops down onto the floor. So now you've got a soundproof panel right here, but 2 layers of glass so you can see through it and work. So you saw how long that took me to do. It takes about 5 minutes to assemble a wall. And then I can assemble, you look at the track up here, I can assemble a second wall. And now I've got an airlock. And that's as soundproof as a hard-walled studio at that point.
Oh my gosh.
So,
with windows.
With windows.
Yeah.
And then you can put another wall. Again, if you follow up here, you put a wall here or a wall there. And with all the gear on wheels, including the speakers, the piano, everything's on wheels, you can completely change the acoustic environment, the recording environment, the practical environment, and create different rooms to work in. So, for instance, I've we had just this corner of the room made into a control room. All that gear was put in here, and that's where the engineer lived. Okay. I stayed right here, and I had a 30-piece orchestra around me so I could conduct in this room. Lady Gaga likes to work where we have the double walls up, put a wall here, and so this section becomes her control room. She has a bigger control room, and that's her piano and vocal room, and then she'll put the rest of her band out here. There are also 2 more isolation booths down below the deck outside, and one has you can Google it later, Leslie. It's a spinning speaker for a Hammond, but that's already set up and mic'd. So you can use the Hammond organ over there in the corner, fire it up. You can't hear it until you open up the mics and have complete control, acoustic control of it. And then we also have another booth down there that has a twin 12 guitar cabinet. So a guitar player can come here, he can plug into the wall with my amp head or one of his own. You can't hear him in the room till you put on headphones, the engineer opens up the mic, and then he can sit in the piano bench next to the piano player and jam out, but have total isolation and total control after the fact. It's a very unique studio.
That's amazing. And you said people can actually come and stay the night here too. They can rent it out.
Yeah, we have tiny houses on the property. We did have a house that burned down in the Woolsey fire, which Jeremiah referred to later or earlier, but we are going to rebuild. But in the meantime, we have these tiny houses for people to crash in if they want while they work. And they're really nice.
Yeah, well, my gosh, just to be here and, work consecutively. And is that typical? I mean, is that what people do? Do they usually come?
Nothing's typical, but some do, some don't. So, sometimes people come in for a day or two, like Pink. She was here for an hour, and then next thing I know, she's booked in here for 2 weeks. I'll show you a little more. Follow me. Okay. So this room in here, which is an entry, obviously, for the studio, but it can be isolated out from the rest of the studio with a second set of doors that seals and soundproofs it and you can't see through it. And this can become another little workspace for recording, for doing timing and tweaking, whatever you need to do. But there's also a headphone and mic jack in the wall underneath the shelf. So you can use this as another vocal booth in addition to these. And then even there, go in there. Oh. So even the bathroom, headphone and mic jack right there.
Oh, okay. All hidden.
So because Acoustically, tile is a completely different sound than wood, than a small room, than a large room. Now the last, Heather, go over here, grab both of these rails.
Okay.
Oh wait, it'll make it a little tough with you.
I
Try it.
know.
Let's help you.
Yeah.
Can you walk up there?
Sure.
So that's another ISO booth up there. Right now,
Oh, that's so
everybody's
cool.
bags of purses are up there, but that's a little sleeping loft and an ISO booth.
It's a little hideaway.
Yes.
You have to come see this, Marco.
Well, supposedly, Bono used to like to go up there and write lyrics. And it's, so with this,
Take a peek.
yeah, do you
Yeah,
take
go
the camera
peek.
if there's a little messy at the moment. But you get the vibe.
So what has been some of the more unique, somebody up there writing lyrics, or, what have you seen people do here that maybe you wouldn't expect? That
I
really
don't think I
stands
can
out?
repeat that.
You can repeat maybe one.
I don't know. I really don't know. They don't ask and I don't ask. I don't know. But for me, it's just a place when I'm working on a film score, which tends to be a lot of long, hard hours. And I live here, so it's easy for me to go to bed. But my engineer maybe drove over from the valley, he's exhausted, we'll just crash up there. Or people can take a nap while they're working. So it's used for that probably more than anything else, just as a place to take a nap.
I mean, you really have thought of everything. I mean, is this just from years of being a musician and really caring about the sound? And
I've been in I can't say I've been in every studio in the world, but I've been in a really great cross-section of studios all over LA, New York, Chicago, London, Sydney, all over the place. And I know what I like in recording studios and what I don't like. And there's a lot of things I didn't like that I didn't want to have here. I don't like being in an artificial environment. I don't like being in a dark room when I'm working with artificial light. I have no sense of time or place. So that was one of the things we wanted to address here, and we did.
you did. It's beautiful. And I want to just go outside for a little bit.
Sure.
And we can give a little nod to what you were talking about. The fact that it did survive.
Well, I'll show you something fun.
Fire. Yes.
So all of all of our koi were killed in the fire, unfortunately. So these are new koi. This all burned in the fire. Everything you see here burned, but the studio was untouched, pretty much.
Unbelievable.
I mean, it was singed. You know, the finish, like this finish, bubbled from the heat, from this burning, from the Ep burning. But we've always had a gong here. This is a newer gong. I'm going to show you how to play a gong.
Oh, like the Gong Show.
Yeah, but not like that. I'm going to show you. So,
Okay.
you know, Boingo was on the Gong Show.
Was he really?
Before I was in
I
the
think
band.
they need to bring it back.
No, okay, you host it.
Okay, I think so.
All right, so when you play a gong, a percussionist showed me this, you really want to get the sense of it. Start tapping slowly around the brass part here,
Okay.
and then keep tapping harder and harder as you go around the circle. And listen to it. You're going to hear the overtones come up. A little harder, a little faster. Keep going. Keep going, harder. Harder, harder. Now smack it. So you hear all those overtones come up, right? Now, the coda here is that I've trained my koi fish to the sound of the
To the
gong. You
gong.
see how they're freaking out next to the bridge because that's where I feed them
They
from.
think they're getting food.
They are. We laid out food so you can feed them. See that right there?
I need to get that. I'm going to feed them right now. So
Yeah.
they're waiting for it.
They are. They're hungry. They haven't eaten today.
Look at them. So they're waiting on the gong. Just stick
Yep.
it in.
They're going to be all over it.
This is what I need. It's like the ultimate training. Get 'em.
Well, we all respond to food, don't we?
Wow, gosh, look at that. So you think the big reason you were saying though is a lot of the way that your yard and everything has been landscaped, mainly from your wife.
Totally from my wife.
And that's one of the reasons that you think it might have been saved.
There are two primary reasons why the studio didn't burn. The landscaping outside here is all regenerative agriculture and permaculture. A quick version of my wife is the one that should talk about this, but people think if you have a lawn and you mow your lawn, right, and you keep your grass, you want to go over this way?
Yeah.
So I can leave this here. On a typical lawn, you'll have usually tall fescue is the typical grass, and you'll let it grow 3 or 4 inches. Well, what I didn't know, I learned from my wife, is that the roots of that grass are proportionate to the height of the blade. So if the grass, tall fescue, will go 12 to 15 inches high. That's why it's called tall fescue. But everybody keeps it cut short, and so the roots only go down like that. But if you let the tall fescue grow what it wants to do, it'll get a foot high. The roots will go down 3 feet, 2 to 3 feet, say.
Okay.
And what happens is that breaks up the soil. The roots break up the soil. It invites in fungi, all sorts of other organisms, microbial organisms that break up the soil, and the fungi and all that, and it creates what's called a soil carbon sponge. Now, what does that have to do with the fire? Is this. It's called a sponge for a reason. It'll hold 30 times its weight in water because of this underground structure that's been built through this whole thing. So after the fire, where everything else around Malibu was still smoking and on fire, we had dew on the grass because of this agriculture that my wife did here. So all around the studio, there's a video that I imagine Jeremiah will put up that dramatically demonstrates what happens when your soil and when your agriculture is healthy. And this was healthy beyond belief.
It's really fascinating and just something that really seems simple if you just know about it.
That's exactly right. And we've been trying to, my wife and I have both been trying to educate people. So you got to build houses and you got to put sand and rocks everywhere and make the house out of concrete and brick so it won't burn. It's like the Three Little Pigs thing, right?
Yes.
It's so stupid. It's like, no. What you have to do is get your soil, everything healthy, build your studio like it's, build your house like it's a recording studio. One of the most salient, important things about a recording studio is that it's soundproof. How do you make it soundproof? It's airtight. If it's airtight, no embers can get in. The fire came over this studio and around it. It was here. And this is wood. But it couldn't get inside where the oxygen was. And the fire moved on. We went to our house and destroyed that because our house wasn't built to this standard at all. The house was pre-existing when we bought it.
Well, and honestly, just everything that you've put into the recording studio, it's hard to do for just a house, for everything with the wood and...
Yes, but there are certain principles that are easy to put into a house, and that is, we were writing all of our subcontractors like crazy, like just putting up drywall. Typically, drywall guys will put up the drywall and they'll be kind of uneven, and you ever watch them do it, and they fill it in with putty and put tape over it, and then you paint it, you don't know, but there's still air gaps in there. We made them get it, before they even put any putty, so tight that nothing could get through. An ant can't get in this place. So that you can do with any house. You just spend a little bit of time making sure that every little seal is tight, airtight. Every gap, any place where air can get in or out, is sealed up. You can do that with any house. That's not that hard.
Do you have a favorite place, a favorite spot in the recording studio here?
Oh, God, I don't know. I suppose sitting at the piano.
Yeah. And looking out.
Well, at that point, I'm just enjoying myself, right?
Yeah, but what about outside? Does anybody ever record anything coming
Oh
out
yeah,
this way?
there's videos of Coldplay down in the lower garden, playing, jamming down there. There's a bunch of videos of people shot outside, just for fun. There's one, Harry Styles did a video. They rented this place as a location, right, to do a Harry Styles video. Oh, cool, that'd be great. I like Harry Styles. And the director gets here, and for whatever reason, like they ask, well, can we use the studio? Of course, you can use the gear and do it. We'll record it. And they decided, no. They brought in a remote recording rig. Didn't even use any of our gear. They used the studio as a dressing room for Harry Styles. They didn't even film it at all. And they filmed on the outside of the Airstream. And they put up like those cheesy pennants like you see at a used car lot.
I saw that.
You've seen that video?
I've seen the video, yes.
Yeah, that was done here.
I would have no idea
Right.
it was here.
No, and that's what cracked me up. They're filming, and they go, dude, the cameraman's doing this. I go, there's an ocean right there. You're not even showing the ocean. You're not showing the studio. It's Harry Styles in front of an Airstream. That was all shot here.
Well, he needs to come back and record in the studio.
I'd love it.
Yeah. Okay, Harry, gotta come
Yeah.
back. Well, I think we're gonna have Ava do a recording.
That'd be
so inside,
brilliant. I
I'm
can't wait to
super
hear.
excited.